Welcome back, Rare Coin Insider. Imagine holding a tiny copper coin in your hand, something so ordinary that millions of people barely notice it, something that often gets tossed into jars, forgotten in drawers, or even left behind at store counters, and yet hidden within that small, seemingly insignificant piece of metal could be a story that stretches across centuries, a story of design, economics, history, and in some rare and fascinating cases, unimaginable value. Today, we are diving deep into the mysterious and attention-grabbing world of the 1 cent USA 1994 coin, a coin that at first glance appears completely normal, yet rumors, collector discussions, and viral claims have turned it into something almost mythical, with whispers of it being worth up to $201 million. Now, before we even begin to understand how such a claim could exist, let's take a slow and detailed look at the coin itself, starting with its physical presence. The 1994 1 cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny, is small, lightweight, and instantly recognizable. It has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters and weighs approximately 2.5 grams, which might surprise many people who assume coins have always been made from solid copper. In reality, since 1982, the United States Mint changed the composition of the penny to primarily zinc with a thin copper plating. This means that the 1994 penny is made up of about 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper coating, giving it that classic copper appearance while keeping production costs low. As you turn the coin over in your fingers, the first thing you'll notice on the front side, known as the obverse, is the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln. This design has been in use since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The face of Lincoln is calm, slightly angled, and deeply symbolic, representing unity, resilience, and the enduring legacy of one of America's most respected presidents. Above his head, the word "Liberty" appears boldly, while the phrase, "In God We Trust," arches across the top edge of the coin. To the right side of Lincoln's portrait, you'll find the year, 1994, marking the coin's place in time. Right below the year, you may also notice a small letter, which is known as the mint mark. This tiny symbol plays a huge role in determining the coin's origin and sometimes its value. In 1994, pennies were minted in 3 primary locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia typically have no mint mark, Denver coins carry a small D, and San Francisco coins have an S, although those are usually proof coins made specifically for collectors. These small differences might seem trivial, but for collectors, they can mean everything. Now let's flip the coin to its reverse side, where the design continues to tell a story. The back of the 1994 penny features the Lincoln Memorial, a structure that stands as a symbol of honor and remembrance. This design was introduced in 1959 and remained in use until 2008, making it familiar to generations of Americans. If you look very closely, you can even see a tiny representation of the Lincoln statue inside the memorial, a detail so small that many people never notice it unless they examine the coin under magnification. Above the memorial, the words, "United States of America," are clearly engraved, and just below that the phrase, "E pluribus unum," meaning, "out of many, one," reinforces the idea of unity. At the bottom, the denomination, 1 cent, is displayed, reminding you of the coin's face value, which is, of course, just a single cent. But here's where things start to get interesting. Despite its face value being so low, the 1994 penny has attracted attention for reasons that go far beyond its everyday use. In the world of coin collecting, also known as numismatics, value is not determined by face value alone. Instead, collectors look at rarity, condition, mint errors, historical significance, and demand. And sometimes, a simple coin can become incredibly valuable due to a rare error or a unique feature that sets it apart from millions of others. In the case of the 1994 penny, there have been rumors and viral claims suggesting that certain versions of this coin could be worth massive amounts of money, even reaching figures like $201 million. Now, this kind of valuation sounds almost unbelievable, and in most cases, it is. However, these claims often originate from misunderstandings, exaggerated listings, or extremely rare error coins that spark curiosity and speculation. For example, if a 1994 penny were struck with a major minting error, such as being double struck, having an off-center design, or being made from the wrong metal planchet, its value could increase significantly. Collectors are always searching for these unusual variations because they are rare and tell a unique story about the minting process. Even a small detail, like a doubled letter or an unusual color, can turn an ordinary coin into something highly desirable. Another factor that plays a major role in value is the coin's condition, often graded on a scale from poor to mint state. A 1994 penny that has never been circulated, meaning it has no wear, scratches, or discoloration, can be worth more than one that has been used in everyday transactions. These uncirculated coins are often kept in protective cases and can maintain their original shine and detail for decades. As we continue to explore the mystery and fascination surrounding this coin, it becomes clear that the true value lies not just in the metal itself, but in the stories, the rarity, and the passion of collectors who are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for something truly unique. And this is only the beginning, because in the next part, we are going to dive even deeper into the history behind the Lincoln penny, uncover how the design evolved over time, and explore real examples of rare coins that have sold for astonishing prices, bringing us closer to understanding whether a 1994 penny could ever truly be worth millions. As we continue this journey, it becomes important to step back in time and truly understand how a simple 1-cent coin like the 1994 Lincoln penny is connected to a much larger historical narrative, one that begins more than a century earlier. The story of this coin does not actually start in 1994, but in 1909, when the United States made a bold and unprecedented decision to place a real historical figure on a circulating coin for the very first time. Before that moment, American coins typically featured symbolic images like Lady Liberty, representing ideals rather than individuals. But in 1909, to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the U.S. Mint introduced the Lincoln cent, forever changing the identity of American coinage. The original design was created by Victor David Brenner, a sculptor whose initials, BDB, became a small but significant detail in the coin's early history. The inclusion of Lincoln's portrait was not just an artistic choice. It was a reflection of national respect and admiration for a leader who had guided the country through one of its most difficult periods. Over time, this design became deeply embedded in American culture, and by 1994, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for 85 years, making it one of the most recognizable coins in the world. Now, while the front of the coin remained largely unchanged, the reverse design evolved. In 1959, the wheat ears design that had been used since 1909 was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial. This change marked the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and introduced a more modern and architectural element to the coin. By the time the 1994 penny was minted, the Lincoln Memorial design had already been in use for 35 years, and it had become a familiar sight in everyday transactions. But here's where things start to become more fascinating for collectors. Even though billions of pennies are produced every year, not all coins are created equal. In fact, some of the most valuable coins in history are not rare because of their design alone, but because of mistakes made during the minting process. These mistakes, known as mint errors, can transform an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. Imagine a coin being struck slightly off-center, causing the design to appear misaligned. Or picture a coin that has been double struck, where the design appears duplicated and slightly shifted, creating a ghost-like effect. These errors are not supposed to happen, but when they do, they create something unique, something that cannot be easily replicated. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness often translates into value. For the 1994 penny, collectors have identified a number of possible variations and minor errors, although none are widely recognized as being worth millions. However, even small imperfections can increase a coin's value significantly. For example, a 1994 penny with a noticeable double die error, where the lettering appears double due to a misalignment during the die creation process, can be worth far more than its face value. Similarly, coins that were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning they were accidentally made using a metal blank intended for a different coin, can become extremely rare and valuable. Another important aspect to consider is the mint mark. As mentioned earlier, the 1994 penny was produced in multiple locations, and each mint had slightly different production processes and quantities. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced coins without a mint mark, created the largest number of pennies that year. The Denver Mint, marked with a D, also produced a significant quantity. Meanwhile, the San Francisco Mint focused primarily on proof coins, which are specially made for collectors using polished dies and planchets to create a mirror-like finish. Proof coins are particularly interesting because they are not meant for circulation. They are carefully crafted, often handled with gloves, and packaged in protective cases. A 1994 S-proof penny, especially one in perfect condition, can be worth significantly more than a regular circulated coin. The level of detail on proof coins is often sharper, with deeper contrasts between the raised design and the background, making them highly desirable among collectors. Now let's talk about rarity, because this is where the idea of extreme value begins to take shape. In general, the 1994 penny is not considered rare. Millions upon millions were produced, and many are still in circulation today. However, rarity is not just about how many coins were made, it's about how many survive in a particular condition or with specific characteristics. A coin that is common in worn condition can become rare if found in perfect, uncirculated state. This brings us to the grading system, which plays a crucial role in determining a coin's market value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect coin with no visible imperfections even under magnification. A 1994 penny graded as MS70, meaning mint state 70, would be extraordinarily rare, as achieving perfection in mass-produced coins is incredibly difficult. Such a coin, especially if it also had a unique error, could attract significant attention and potentially command a very high price. But what about the claim of a 1994 penny being worth $201 million? To understand this, we need to look at how such figures can emerge. Sometimes, online listings or viral posts exaggerate the value of coins, either as a misunderstanding or as a way to attract attention. In other cases, people confuse different coins or assume that any old or unusual coin must be extremely valuable. While it is true that some coins have sold for millions of dollars, these are usually extremely rare pieces with well-documented histories, such as unique prototypes or coins from limited mintages. For example, some of the most valuable coins ever sold include rare early American coins or coins with historical significance that cannot be replicated. The 1994 penny, while interesting and collectible, does not fall into that category under normal circumstances. However, the idea that it could be worth a fortune keeps collectors searching, examining their coins closely, and hoping to discover something extraordinary. And that hope, that possibility of finding something rare and valuable in something so ordinary, is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It turns everyday objects into potential treasures and encourages people to look closer, to pay attention, and to appreciate the details that might otherwise go unnoticed. In the next part, we will explore real market values, auction records, and the most expensive pennies ever sold, helping you understand exactly where the 1994 penny stands in the world of high-value coins, and whether any version of it could truly reach life-changing prices. Now, as we move deeper into the world of coin collecting and real market behavior, it's time to separate myth from reality and understand exactly how coins are valued in the real world, especially when it comes to something like the 1994 1-cent coin. Because while stories of coins being worth hundreds of millions of dollars can spread quickly online, the actual marketplace operates on very specific principles that determine what collectors are truly willing to pay. Let's begin by looking at how coin value is actually established. Unlike ordinary items, coins are not priced based on usefulness, but on a combination of rarity, condition, demand, and historical importance. These factors come together to form what collectors refer to as the numismatic value, which can sometimes be far higher than the coin's face value or even its metal content. For the 1994 penny, in its most common circulated condition, the value is extremely modest. If you were to take a typical 1994 coin that has been used in daily transactions, showing signs of wear, small scratches, and a dull surface, its value would usually remain at just 1 cent, or at most a few cents if sold in bulk. This is because there are still millions of these coins in circulation, making them very easy to find. However, things begin to change when we move into higher grades. A 1994 penny that has never been circulated, known as an uncirculated coin, can be worth more. If such a coin is preserved carefully and graded professionally, it might fetch anywhere from a few cents to a few dollars, depending on its exact condition. Coins graded in the MS65 to MS67 range, which indicates a high-quality mint state with strong luster and minimal imperfections, can sometimes sell for a higher premium, especially if they are part of a complete collection. Now let's talk about proof coins, specifically the 1994 proof penny. These coins were never intended for everyday use and were produced in limited quantities for collectors. Because of their polished finish and sharp detail, proof coins are often more valuable than regular coins. A 1994 proof penny in excellent condition might be worth a few dollars, and in perfect condition, it could reach higher values, especially if graded as PR69 or PR70. But even then, we are generally talking about tens of dollars, not millions. So where do the big numbers come from? The answer lies in rare exceptions, particularly error coins. Throughout history, some coins have sold for astonishing amounts due to unique and dramatic minting errors. For example, there have been pennies struck on the wrong metal, such as a copper planchet during a year when pennies were supposed to be made from zinc. There have also been coins with major double dies, off-center strikes, or even coins that were mistakenly struck with designs from different denominations. These kinds of errors are incredibly rare, and when they are discovered, they can attract intense interest from collectors. In some cases, such coins have sold for thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But even among these rare finds, reaching into the millions is extremely unusual and typically reserved for coins with extraordinary historical significance. To give you a clearer perspective, consider some of the most famous and valuable pennies ever sold. One example is the 1943 copper penny, a coin that was accidentally struck in copper during a year when pennies were supposed to be made from steel due to wartime metal shortages. Only a handful of these coins exist, and they have sold for over $1 million at auction. Another famous example is the 1909 SVG penny, which is highly sought after due to its low mintage and historical importance. When we compare these legendary coins to the 1994 penny, it becomes clear that the latter does not share the same level of rarity or historical uniqueness under normal circumstances. This is why claims of a 1994 penny being worth $201 million are not supported by any verified auction records or expert evaluations. In fact, no penny in history has ever reached such a value. However, this does not mean that the 1994 penny is without interest or potential. On the contrary, it remains a fascinating piece for collectors, especially those who enjoy searching for subtle variations and errors. There is always the possibility, however small, that a unique specimen could be discovered, something that stands out from the rest and captures the attention of the numismatic community. Another interesting aspect to consider is how the internet and social media have influenced the perception of coin values. Viral posts, exaggerated listings, and misleading headlines can create the impression that ordinary coins are worth extraordinary amounts. While this can sometimes lead to confusion, it also brings more people into the hobby, encouraging them to learn, explore, and perhaps even discover something valuable. So, if you happen to have a 1994 penny, what should you do? The first step is to examine it closely. Look for any unusual features, such as doubling in the letters, an off-center design, or differences in color and texture. Check the mint mark and consider the coin's overall condition. If something seems unusual, it may be worth having the coin evaluated by a professional grading service. At the end of the day, the true value of the 1994 penny lies not in unrealistic claims, but in the excitement of discovery, the appreciation of history, and the possibility that even the smallest object can hold a story worth telling. And sometimes, that story is worth far more than money. In the next part, we will explore the deeper psychology of collectors, the hidden world of coin auctions, and some surprising stories of people who found valuable coins in the most unexpected places, showing just how powerful the search for treasure can be. Now, let's step into the fascinating world of collectors and auctions, where ordinary coins can suddenly become extraordinary, and where the passion for history, rarity, and craftsmanship can translate into real monetary value. Coin collecting is not just about money. It is a hobby, a science, and an adventure all rolled into one. Every coin has a story, and the 1994 penny is no exception, even if it is not officially a record-breaking rarity. For collectors, the allure lies in the details, the mint mark, the strike quality, and any tiny variations that might make one coin stand out from the millions of others. Auctions play a central role in determining a coin's market value. Unlike fixed-price sales, auctions create competition among buyers, and this competition can drive prices much higher than anticipated. For rare coins, this often results in jaw-dropping sums, sometimes in the hundreds of thousands or even millions. The most significant auctions are conducted by specialized numismatic houses, such as Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Sotheby's. These auctions meticulously document every coin, providing provenance, high-resolution images, and professional grading reports to assure buyers of authenticity and quality. While a 1994 penny may not appear on the front page of these high-end auctions, it can certainly be part of collections that include coins from multiple years, mint marks, and error types. Within such collections, a 1994 penny in pristine condition, especially if it has been certified as a perfect mint state coin, can garner interest. The excitement comes not from its face value, but from the hope that it contains a hidden anomaly, perhaps a doubling error on the date or letters, a misalignment in the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, or an off-metal strike. These hidden gems are what drive the thrill of collecting. Collectors also thrive on the psychology of scarcity. Even a coin that is not technically rare can feel valuable if it appears in exceptional condition. This is why grading services like PCGS and NGC are so critical. These services grade coins on a 70-point scale, evaluating every microscopic detail, from scratches and dents to the quality of the strike and the luster of the metal. A 1994 penny graded MS-70, indicating a perfect, flawless mint state coin, could attract serious buyers simply because perfection in a mass-produced coin is almost impossible. Interestingly, some collectors have made significant fortunes by discovering coins in the most mundane places, in jars, drawers, old cash registers, or even pocket change. There are countless stories of coins purchased for pennies that later sold for thousands of dollars because they contained rare errors or were in uncirculated condition. This is the magic that keeps people searching, examining every coin carefully, and nurturing the hope that the next ordinary-looking penny could be the one that changes everything. Another aspect that enhances a coin's allure is its symbolic and cultural significance. The 1994 penny, bearing Abraham Lincoln's portrait, connects modern collectors to more than a century of American history. It reminds us of Lincoln's legacy, the Civil War era, and the symbolic continuity of a nation that chose to honor its leaders through everyday objects. This emotional resonance adds an intangible value that money cannot measure, creating a deeper attachment among collectors who appreciate history, craftsmanship, and storytelling. Even in today's market, the 1994 penny has an interesting place. While it is not among the most valuable pennies ever sold, it represents a generation of coins that is still relatively recent, yet already historic. Many collectors focus on older pennies, such as the early 1909 Lincoln cents, the 1943 copper pennies, or the 1955 double die penny, all of which have established auction records. However, the 1994 penny serves as a bridge between modern coin production and the historical legacy of Lincoln's coinage. It shows how even ordinary, seemingly ubiquitous coins can spark curiosity, inspire research, and encourage the pursuit of rare anomalies. The so-called $201 million valuation is largely an exaggeration, a testament to how myths can grow in online communities and social media. But that does not diminish the coin's appeal. On the contrary, these myths add to the narrative, creating excitement and imagination. They encourage collectors to pay attention to detail, to understand mint history, to examine coins under magnification, and to dream about discovering something extraordinary. This combination of history, artistry, and potential rarity is what makes coin collecting such a compelling pursuit. It's also important to understand that coin collecting is not just about individual coins. It's about the stories they carry. The 1994 penny might have passed through the hands of a child saving spare change, a cashier counting the till, or a collector carefully storing uncirculated coins in a protective album. Each coin carries the imprint of time, use, and human interaction. That narrative, combined with its design, metal composition, and potential rarity, makes it far more than a mere cent. Finally, the market value of coins, including the 1994 penny, reflects a delicate balance between supply and demand. While millions of these coins exist, interest from collectors in uncirculated, high-grade, or error examples ensures that some versions can be worth multiple dollars, especially if certified by a reputable grading company. Rare errors, perfect mint state coins, or proof coins like the 1994's can spark competitive bidding, providing real-world instances where ordinary coins achieve extraordinary status in the collector's market. In the next part, we will explore the hidden details that can make a 1994 penny even more valuable, including subtle die variations, rare colorations, and other anomalies that experts look for. And we will also discuss how to properly store, preserve, and potentially sell such coins for maximum value. This is where ordinary pennies can transform into collector's treasures. Now, let's dive into the subtle details that can transform an otherwise ordinary 1994 penny into a collector's treasure. Even within a single year's production, variations can exist that are invisible to the casual observer but highly prized among numismatists. One of the most sought-after features is a double die error. This occurs during the die creation process when the design is accidentally stamped more than once, creating a slightly offset duplication in letters, numbers, or design elements. On a 1994 penny, doubling might appear on the word Liberty, the date 1994, or the motto, "In God We Trust." Such coins, especially if uncirculated, can command a significant premium because the error is permanent and cannot be reproduced intentionally. Another subtle variation collectors watch for is off-center strikes. If a penny is struck slightly off its planchet, part of the design might appear missing or cut off. While small misalignments are somewhat common, extreme off-center strikes are rare and can make a coin highly valuable. Similarly, variations in the metal itself, such as a coin struck on an incorrect alloy or showing unusual coloration, can increase its appeal. A 1994 penny normally has a zinc core with a thin copper coating, but if there were a minting mistake where the coin retained an unusual copper tone or had a partially exposed core, it could become a fascinating find. Collectors also pay attention to die cracks, small raised lines caused by stress in the coin die. These cracks might form a visible pattern on the coin, and in some cases, they can significantly increase a coin's value if they are prominent or unusual. Even minor imperfections, like tiny scratches, die clashes, or variations in the finish, can make a difference, particularly in high-grade coins. For instance, a coin graded MS69 with a subtle die anomaly may be more desirable than a flawless MS70 without any distinct traits because collectors value uniqueness alongside perfection. Preservation and storage are also critical. A 1994 penny may retain more of its value if it has been carefully stored away from sunlight, moisture, and abrasive surfaces. Collectors often use archival quality coin holders, protective capsules, or coin albums to maintain the original luster and prevent oxidation. Over decades, even a small change in color or a tiny scratch can dramatically impact a coin's marketability. That's why coins that remain uncirculated in pristine condition are always more appealing and can sell for multiples of their face value, even if the coin is relatively modern. Auction records and historical sales data provide additional context. While no verified 1994 penny has ever reached a value anywhere near $201 million, auction houses occasionally see 1994 pennies with minor errors or proof finishes sell for tens or hundreds of dollars. This is particularly true when the coin is certified by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Certification adds legitimacy, assures buyers of the coin's authenticity, and allows coins to be traded confidently on the collector's market. Even beyond monetary value, there is a story inherent in every coin. A 1994 penny might have been in a cash register at a local grocery store, handled by thousands of hands before finally entering a collector's collection. It carries with it not just historical significance, but a connection to daily life in 1994, the music, the fashion, the culture. These intangible qualities, while impossible to quantify in dollars, add depth to the coin's narrative and make it more engaging to collectors who enjoy history as much as profit. Additionally, the myth of extreme value has made the 1994 penny a symbol of curiosity. Viral posts claiming outrageous prices, while mostly inaccurate, serve to inspire people to examine coins carefully, learn about minting processes, and engage with the hobby. These stories reinforce the idea that even small, common objects can hide surprises, and they highlight the thrill of discovery that makes coin collecting so enduringly popular. Finally, the 1994 penny reminds us that true collectors' value often lies at the intersection of rarity, condition, historical significance, and human fascination. While most of these coins remain worth only a cent or a few dollars, the rare anomalies, perfect uncirculated specimens, or unique errors can capture the imagination and attention of enthusiasts around the world. In some ways, this tiny copper coin embodies the magic of possibility, the idea that in a small, overlooked object There could be hidden wonder waiting to be discovered. In the next part, we will explore the broader historical and cultural context of the Lincoln penny, the evolution of coinage in the United States, and how coins like the 1994 penny fit into the larger story of American currency, connecting everyday change to a century of history. To fully appreciate the 1994 penny, we need to step back and look at the larger story of the Lincoln cent and the evolution of coinage in the United States. Coins are not just currency. They are artifacts of history, tiny time capsules that carry the values, artistry, and technology of the era in which they were created. The Lincoln penny, first issued in 1909, was a revolutionary concept because it placed a real historical figure on a circulating coin for the first time in U.S. history. Abraham Lincoln's image symbolized unity, resilience, and the moral ideals of a nation that had emerged from a devastating civil war. Over decades, the Lincoln penny became more than just a 1-cent coin. It became a cultural icon, a tangible piece of American identity that touched the hands of generations. By 1994, the Lincoln penny had already become a bridge between past and present. The obverse featured Lincoln's familiar portrait, linking each coin to over 80 years of history, while the reverse showcased the Lincoln Memorial, a monument to the same ideals Lincoln represented. This combination of historical resonance and enduring design made the coin inherently interesting to collectors. Even though the 1994 penny was produced in massive quantities and is common in everyday circulation, it carries the legacy of more than a century of U.S. minting and design evolution. The 1994 penny also reflects changes in metal composition, technology, and economics. By this time, pennies were primarily zinc with a thin copper coating, a decision driven by cost efficiency and practical manufacturing concerns. This change in composition, while subtle to the casual observer, is significant for collectors. It means that 1994 pennies belong to a specific era of minting, distinguishable from earlier solid copper coins, and the slight variations in color, luster, or where patterns can become points of fascination. Another important aspect of the 1994 penny is its role in teaching patience, observation, and appreciation. For collectors, even coins that are abundant can offer lessons in attention to detail. Searching for doubling errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, or unusual metal characteristics encourages meticulous study, careful handling, and a connection to the coin's production history. This makes the 1994 penny more than a piece of currency. It becomes an educational tool, a hobby, and a gateway into the larger world of numismatics. Ultimately, the 1994 penny's story is about perspective. To the average person, it may seem like just another coin, a single cent with negligible value. To a collector, it represents potential, possibility, and connection. It is a reminder that history is often hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. While the $201 million valuation may be an exaggeration or a myth, the fascination it generates is very real. That fascination drives exploration, fuels the excitement of coin hunting, and reminds us that even the smallest objects can carry stories far bigger than their size. As you hold a 1994 penny in your hand, consider what it represents. Decades of design and craftsmanship, the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the thrill of discovery, and the tiny spark of possibility that a simple coin can ignite. Whether it ends up as pocket change, part of a collector's album, or the focus of a careful auction, it is a symbol of how ordinary things can become extraordinary when seen through the lens of history, rarity, and human imagination. And that, perhaps, is the greatest value of all, a story that transforms a single cent into a treasure far beyond its monetary worth. This is the story of the 1994 1-cent coin, a coin that is humble in size, but rich in history, detail, and collector fascination. Even if its true market value will never reach the astronomical myths circulating online, Its place in the world of American coinage is secure, and its ability to inspire curiosity and admiration is timeless. Every penny, every detail, every subtle variation tells a story, and in the case of the 1994 penny, that story is as fascinating and enduring as Lincoln himself. This concludes the complete exploration of the 1994 penny, its design, history, weight, mint marks, errors, collector's significance, market perspective, and the myths that surround it. A tiny coin, yet a vast universe of stories and wonder.